A wealthy woman humiliates a black waitress at a luxury resort restaurant, belittling her over a minor mistake. What the woman doesn't expect is that the waitress fights back, striking her in front of everyone. In a single moment, the power dynamic shifts. What started as an insult quickly escalates into a confrontation that neither of them was prepared for, and the consequences will be far-reaching. This wasn't just a service complaint, it was a moment of reckoning. What would you do if you saw something like this happen? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Before we dive in, let us know in the comment, where are you watching from? Tanya Mitchell had been working at the upscale resort for a few years. As a waitress in her late 20s, she had learned how to keep her cool no matter what. Dealing with rude guests and the occasional racist remark was just part of her job. But Tanya took pride in her professionalism. She had a quiet strength, always doing her best while keeping her dignity intact. However, she never thought that a routine day at work would push her to the edge. At the other side of the restaurant sat Gloria Richardson, a woman who lived a life most people could only dream of. In her early 40s, she was used to luxury, control, and getting what she wanted without question. She carried herself with an air of superiority that only the wealthy can afford. As she dined with her friends, sipping wine and enjoying the finest dishes, she was completely unaware that her next interaction with Tanya would change everything. It was a warm summer afternoon, and the restaurant was busy with well-dressed guests enjoying their meals. The sounds of clinking glasses and soft jazz filled the air, creating a calm, upscale atmosphere. Tanya walked between the tables, smiling as she served drinks and meals. Her focus was on doing her job well. But when she reached Gloria's table, she could already feel the tension building. Little did Tanya know, this was the beginning of something that would force her to take a stand. Tanya approached Gloria's table with the usual friendly greeting. "How's everything going today, ma'am?" But as she placed the drink down, Gloria shot her an annoyed look, clearly displeased. "You're taking too long," she snapped, her tone sharp. "Do you even know how to serve properly? My drink's lukewarm." Tanya was taken aback by the sudden outburst. She had seen rude customers before, but something about Gloria's demeanor made the situation feel different. Trying her best to remain composed, Tanya apologized. "I'm so sorry, ma'am. I'll get a fresh one right away." But as she turned to leave, she heard Gloria's voice again, this time more condescending. "What is this place, anyway? It's ridiculous that I have to deal with someone like you for service," she muttered loudly enough for Tanya to hear. Tanya's face tightened, but she remained silent, determined not to let the situation escalate. She was a professional, and she wasn't going to let some entitled customer get under her skin. But then, Gloria pushed further. "What's wrong? You don't like being talked to like that?" The humiliation in Gloria's voice was palpable. It was clear that she was enjoying every second of this. Tanya took a deep breath, trying to keep her composure. But it wasn't easy. The words stung, and the way Gloria was treating her made Tanya feel small. As she turned to grab a fresh drink, she could feel the weight of the situation building. When she returned, she was met with another insult. Gloria slammed her glass down on the table, spilling some of it over the edge. "You really should be more careful, don't you think?" Gloria sneered, now openly mocking her. Tanya's hands shook, but she forced herself to stay calm, not wanting to lose control. The quiet hum of the restaurant became a distant sound as the tension between the two women grew. The other customers at nearby tables were watching, some with curious eyes, others with judgmental stares. Tanya felt all their eyes on her, but she didn't know what to do. Was she supposed to keep quiet? Was it worth losing her job to stand up for herself? The next moment felt like a decision that would define everything. Before Tanya could even respond, Gloria reached out, her hands swinging through the air with a force that sent shockwaves through the room. The slap landed hard across Tanya's face, the sound echoing in the stillness of the restaurant. Time seemed to freeze. The sting from the slap burned on Tanya's skin, and for a moment she couldn't move. The restaurant was dead silent, all eyes on her. But then something inside Tanya snapped. Without thinking, she struck back, her fist connecting with Gloria's cheek. The impact sent shockwaves through the room as Gloria stumbled back, shocked by the sudden retaliation. The entire room went quiet. Gloria, stunned and humiliated, held her cheek, her eyes wide with disbelief. Tanya stood there, her heart pounding, the adrenaline rushing through her. She had never done anything like that before, but something about this moment made her realize she couldn't just stand by anymore. She had been pushed too far. Her hand was still clenched in a fist, but her resolve was solidifying. The restaurant, once filled with light chatter and laughter, now felt suffocating. All eyes were on her, and for the first time in what felt like forever, she didn't care. She wasn't going to take it anymore. Gloria's friends gasped, but no one moved to help her. They just watched, some in disbelief, others in fear. Gloria's face flushed red with fury, her embarrassment quickly transforming into rage. She shot up from her seat, her voice trembling with fury. "How dare you?" she yelled, her voice harsh, louder than it had been before. Tanya, fists clenched, took a step back but didn't retreat. She wasn't going anywhere. "You think you can treat me however you want just because you have money?" Tanya's voice rang out, calm but firm, cutting through the tension. "I'm a person just like you." Every word she spoke seemed to weigh more heavily than the last. Tanya wasn't just defending herself anymore. She was speaking for all the people who had been treated like this over the years, the ones who couldn't stand up for themselves, the ones who had been put in their place by people like Gloria. Tanya could feel the weight of the moment. Was she right to do this? Was she going to get fired for this? The risk was real, and she knew it. But the look on Gloria's face, the shock, the disbelief, the humiliation, it fueled Tanya even more. She didn't feel guilty. She felt empowered. Standing her ground in that moment, Tanya wasn't just defending herself. She was standing up for everyone who had been disrespected and mistreated in this way. She thought of her colleagues, of all the black women who had faced this kind of treatment day after day, and of the people who would never get a chance to fight back. This wasn't just about one woman. It was about making a statement that things were going to change. Gloria's voice cracked as she tried to regain some semblance of control. "I'll have you fired for this," she spat, her anger filling the air. Tanya wasn't intimidated. Not anymore. She stood tall, her back straight, the room now watching her closely. Every person in that restaurant was silently waiting for her next move. They had all seen it, the disrespect, the slap, the humiliation. And now they were watching the aftermath unfold. "Do what you have to," Tanya said coolly, her eyes unwavering, looking straight into Gloria's angry gaze. "But know this, you can't just walk around treating people like they're nothing." Gloria opened her mouth to respond, her words lost in her frustration. But Tanya was done. She had made her point. Without waiting for Gloria to finish, she turned on her heel, ready to leave. The room felt different now. Tanya had taken control of the situation, and as she walked away, she felt a sense of calm settle over her. Her heart still raced from the confrontation, but she knew one thing for sure. Things were never going to be the same again. Not for her, and not for Gloria. As Tanya walked away from the table, she could still hear Gloria shouting at her from across the room. But it didn't matter. The words were drowned out by the pounding of her heart and the rush of adrenaline. Her body felt alive with energy, and for the first time in a long time, she felt like she had done the right thing. She'd stood up for herself, for all the people who had been mistreated in silence. What she didn't realize, though, was that this incident wasn't going to end here. It was going to change her life in ways she never could have expected. The murmurs from the other customers began to rise, a few voices speaking in support of Tanya. It wasn't just quiet whispers. Some of them were nodding, some were applauding her bravery. The atmosphere in the restaurant had shifted. No one had expected such a confrontation. But now that it was over, people seemed to understand exactly what had just taken place. Tanya had done something that none of them would have dared to do. She'd fought back, and they respected her for it. But Tanya wasn't thinking about the customers. She was too caught up in the chaos to realize what was happening around her. She didn't know what would come next, but she was almost certain that she would be fired. What else could happen after something like that? She was prepared for the worst. The manager of the restaurant, a tall, quiet man in his 50s, stepped forward. Tanya felt a rush of anxiety flood her system. She'd seen him from afar, but they had never really spoken before. He was known to be fair but no nonsense. His approach was calm as he made his way toward her. "Can I have a word with you?" the manager asked, his voice steady. Tanya's chest tightened. She nodded slowly, unsure of what was about to happen. She followed him outside to a small back entrance, where the noise of the restaurant didn't seem to follow. Standing in the cool air, she waited in silence, feeling both embarrassed and hopeful. The manager's gaze was serious as he looked her over. "I've been told to have a conversation with you," he began, his tone unexpectedly kind. Tanya's stomach sank. She assumed the worst, thinking that he was going to tell her to pack her things. Her mind raced. She had never done something like that before. She had stood up for herself, but now it seemed like she might pay the price. "I know I messed up," she said, her voice low, ready to accept whatever consequences awaited her. But then, the manager shocked her with his next words. "You didn't mess up," he said quietly. Tanya blinked, confused. "We've been watching how the customers responded, and I've been instructed to offer you something, a promotion." He paused for a moment, letting his words sink in. Tanya's heart stopped for a beat. A promotion? She hadn't expected that in the slightest. "A promotion?" she asked, her voice trembling. The manager nodded, a slight smile tugging at his lips. "You've shown us something that we've been missing here," he continued. "You've shown us courage, integrity, and the ability to handle difficult situations. That's exactly what this place needs, especially in times like these." Tanya stood there, still processing what he had just said. She had thought she would be fired. She had braced herself for the worst. But here she was, being offered more responsibility instead. It didn't make sense, but at the same time, it felt right. She'd taken a stand for herself, and for once it seemed like someone had noticed. She tried to gather her thoughts. "But why me? I've only been here for a short time. There are others who've been working here much longer," she said, still in disbelief. The manager took a deep breath. "It's not about how long you've been here," he said. "It's about what you've done today. You showed us that you're more than just a waitress. You're a leader. You didn't back down, and that's exactly what this company needs. People like you make the difference." Tanya's mind raced as she tried to wrap her head around the situation. Everything she had expected, the anger, the firing, the humiliation, none of it had come true. Instead, she stood there, with a new opportunity in front of her. It felt surreal. For once, it seemed like the system was on her side, the system that had so often failed people like her. Her pulse began to steady, and she finally let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. I I don't know what to say," Tanya admitted, her voice shaky. "This is unexpected." The manager smiled again, his expression warm. "Take your time. We've seen what you're capable of. I'll make sure the promotion goes through." Tanya stood in silence for a moment, trying to process everything. Her life had just taken a completely unexpected turn. She'd fought back against an injustice and had ended up on the receiving end of something far greater than she had ever imagined. She didn't know what the future would hold, but for the first time, she felt empowered in a way she never had before. What started as a humiliating attack had turned into a turning point. Tanya wasn't just a waitress, she had become a force of change. By standing up to an abusive, entitled person, she showed everyone what it meant to take control of your own dignity. Her actions were a testament to the fact that no one, no matter how powerful they seem, can disrespect you without consequences. It wasn't just about standing up for herself, it was about standing up for every worker who had ever been mistreated. The ripple effect of her bravery would not only change her life, but it would inspire others to find their. What do you think needs to be done to stand up to this kind of abuse? Have you ever been in a situation where someone who felt entitled tried to push you down? How did you respond? Share your thoughts below. Let's talk about standing up for ourselves and supporting others who might not be able to do so alone. If this story made you think, like, comment, and subscribe. Share your thoughts with us, and let's continue the conversation about standing up for yourself and for those around you. More stories of change and empowerment are coming your way, so don't miss the next one. Stay tuned for more.